We now have a look at what's happening in the dailies just very quickly. This is what is captured on the front page of Daily Nation in an interview. Former President Uhuru Kenyatta saying, "My problem with Ruto." This is from that interview, the former president revealing the power struggle that led to his parting of ways with the man who would later succeed him, how the ghost of the Hague slowed him down, why he feels dishonored by the current regime, and why, despite all the drama, he still considers Ruto his president. This is a story that has been captured on pages 2, 3, 4, and 5 of the Daily Nation. We're going to get to that in a moment. Just a little on the sidelines of the Daily Nation as well is that the statistics report that was released by Infotrack saying majority of Kenyans feel the country is on the wrong track. Well, about 72% indeed they say, but a majority of Kenyans believe the country is moving on the wrong direction, with only 15% expressing optimism that it is on the right track, according to that latest Infotrack survey. Nyanza, Western and Coast regions exhibiting lower levels of confidence in the country's direction, while more than half of the population in Central, Northeastern and Rift Valley believe the country is headed in the right direction. So you can now capture a couple of those things that were captured in the interview yesterday, in a wide-ranging interview with a couple of journalists from different media houses. Uhuru, this is why I fell out with Ruto, and he goes on to talk about a number of things in his own words on handing power to Ruto. Says, "My administration orchestrated and planned the transition. I played my role very well and even welcomed the new president for a tour of State House. In terms of the hostile crowd at Kasarani, some people warned me that the crowd would be hostile at Kasarani Stadium during the Ruto swearing-in ceremony and suggested that I shouldn't attend. I ignored them and performed my duty as expected." He goes on to also speak on his relationship with Raila Odinga, saying, "I am a supporter of the Azimio coalition. I campaigned for Raila Odinga in the last general election. Unless something major happens, I support that coalition." He also goes on to speak on the issue of the empty coffers at Treasury. So this is what is captured on that part. And also, the former president denying funding Azimio protests. President Ruto, Mr. Gachagua, who is the deputy president, and several members of the cabinet and Kenya Kwanza legislators have numerously alleged that Uhuru is sponsoring Odinga's maandamano and vowed to neuter him. But he goes on to really talk about that issue, the retired president denying those claims that is funding the opposition protest, saying that even though he remains the chairperson of the Azimio La Umoja and Kenya Coalition Council, his role has nothing to do with the daily operations of the party. Instead, he revealed he's waiting for the Azimio leadership to settle on his successor to replace him, as is now not in active politics but pushing for peace in the region as a pan-Africanist. All right, from Uhuru to Ruto, money, power and politics of guns. Well, is it a witch hunt? Kindiki says the 23 firearms suspected to have been used in illegal activities were recovered in Karen homes. This is with regard to last Friday's raid by police on 3 homes in the posh Karen estate in Nairobi, including that of former President Uhuru Kenyatta's eldest son, Jomo. And it lifts the lead on gun politics in the country. The Interior Cabinet Secretary, Professor Kindiki, saying 23 firearms suspected to have been used in illegal activities were recovered at 3 homesteads. We saw what happened. We saw the former president come to the defense of his son, saying that it was a targeted raid of him and his family. But the operation, coupled with the recent arrest of opposition leaders, has exposed the soft underbelly of President William Ruto's Kenya Kwanza administration. So this is what has been also playing out in the political sphere as well, and a lot of talking points in terms of that. Also, Uhuru, "My sons got guns legally." That's the former president, saying his sons had to acquire guns since their security was withdrawn after he left office. He said that he has set the record straight on claims that his sons have illegal guns, which the state has sought to, repossess. Kenyatta has, for the first time, narrated the ordeal his family has gone through in recent days amid allegations of a member or a number of Kenya Kwanza leaders that the firearms were being misused. But according to him, his two sons have 3 guns each, which they were forced to apply for after the security was withdrawn immediately after President William Ruto took office last year. His daughter has none, he says. So you can get the full report on that issue as well here on the Daily Nation. Also, what is happening? Azimio to hold solidarity parades and vigils tomorrow, as opposed to what we thought was going to be what they had termed as another round of protests, that is maandamano. And you saw the leaders there, and the leaders calling off the protests scheduled for tomorrow, but will instead hold what they term as solidarity parades and vigils for victims of police brutality at various locations across the country. And Azimio leaders out on bail over last week's demonstration. Some of those leaders in Kilifi and Nairobi were yesterday released from custody over last week's anti-government protests. And in Mombasa, court yesterday released on bail 4 Kilifi politicians charged with participating in unlawful assembly. All right, let's move forward. Let's see what else is happening. And this is also captured on the front page of DN. Most Kenyans feeling the country is headed on the wrong direction, and that's about 72% of Kenyans, but only 15% expressed optimism that the country is headed in the right direction. It goes on to just give you an idea of some of the regions and how they feel about the country's direction and what is happening. And away from that as well, what else do we have? Let's see. It's up to 40 years in prison for baby Sagini's assailants. Well, Akisi Court has sentenced baby Junior Sagini's cousin Alex Maina Oshogo, his aunt Pacifica Nyakirario, and grandmother Rael Mayaka to 40, 10, and 5 years in prison, respectively, for gouging out his eyes. The 3 relatives were found guilty 2 weeks ago, but their sentencing was postponed from Friday last week to yesterday because of the anti-government protests. This was done by senior resident magistrate Christine Ogweno, who said she had taken into account their respective ages and them in terms of the years in prison. That is Sagini's cousin. If you can see the picture there, seated on the far left. You also have then the aunt and grandmother, of course, now found guilty of that tragic incident where a minor's eyes were gouged out in December last year. All right, let's see. Let's just wind up on DN very quickly. Mukumu whistleblower cook sacked for speaking to the media. That's the whistleblower cook at Sacred Heart Mukumu Girls High School, who's been fired for leaking school-related information to the media and disobeying instructions from the head cook and caterers. Douglas Mushela, who was just 2 years shy of his official retirement age, is one of 9 staff at the school who has been sacked and who have been sacked by the management. Douglas telling the nation that he had received 2 letters from the principal secretary detailing the reasons for his dismissal. He says, "I am now at home without a job simply because I did the right thing. My only mistake in the eyes of the board was to air dirty laundry in public. Is it wrong to tell the truth? I stand by my truth that what happened at Mukumu Girls was not right, and I spoke about it." So we will be following up on this issue as well. Just a little bit also on the sidelines of that, leadership tussle hits Supkem over delayed elections. All right, on the Business Daily, just very quickly as well, this is what is captured. 375 billion shilling revenue shortfall deepens Kenya cash crisis. Well, that's what is happening in terms of the state, which has netted 3.2 trillion in total revenues. In the year to June 30th, ordinary tax revenue below target by 101.4 billion shillings. Judge films at notorious ARA case withdrawals. We have a story on the 21-day tax nightmare for small traders on consolidated cargo. Economic headwinds facing Safaricom's Ethiopia venture, and also Kidero Sonko regime's heed 18 billion on-source tax revenues. And this is actually according to the Auditor General. City Hall did not declare a staggering that amount of money, 18.46 billion in on-source revenue in 3 financial years between 2016 and 2019. A Senate Watchdog Committee had yesterday opening the lead on how billions of shillings collected in Kenya's capital may have ended in private hands. That's captured on Business Daily. If you want to get much more on the same, and very quickly as well on Taifa Leo, nchi yaenda mrama kupitia utafiti uliofanywa na Infotrack. Also, kamata za polisi bado zaendelea, as well as what else is happening. Waliongoa Sagini macho kusota jela kwa jumla ya miaka 55. So we're going to wind up on that newspaper as we have a look at what else is happening, and of course also what we'll be delving into a conversation this morning.